came in 2006, the conceptual design, plus the pool, plus the screening around the hot tub. So that's the history of kind of what has happened. And I was there at this original on-site, so I remember this. And then this came up, and then we asked him to come before us because he put it up without ARB approval. So that's what it's for. And I have looked up, I was mistaken when I spoke to you at the May meeting. I said that lattice was not approved. I have gone through all the guidelines over and over. And what I can find out about lattice is that lattice is used as a screen. There's a definition on page 112, then it shows on page 50, 58, 72, page 83, where lattice is recommended to be used. And it's as a screening, like fence. And what we have here is a fence with a gate. And there is a difference. So that's, I wanted to put that on record about the definition on page 112. Then on page 99, there's a section under the Secretary of State Standards of Rehabilitation that needs, Appendix C, that needs to be also included in the minutes for this. I just want all of this documented because it relates to the backyard, to the fence, to what's going on.
If I could further that and explain to Mr. Byrne, when we moved here, I needed something to keep the dogs from running to the street. So I had that picket fence. I didn't know anything about the ARB. It was my backyard. I figured I could put it down, save my dogs from running in the street. So I slapped that up. I reused some stuff my son had. Backyard, I didn't know about guidelines or any of that stuff. I figured it was in my backyard, I could do it. Then we went to apply for the pool. And we had to go through that. I brought in a conceptual drawing. Originally, we thought we were going to be able to afford to put an addition on the house. During that meeting, as Ms. Lane just said, they asked about the fence and they wanted to paint it. They didn't particularly care for it. So I said, fine. So when I went and made the fence around the pool, I made that stuff, but I couldn't, it was time consuming to do it that way. So I went out and I ordered what I thought was the same style wide screen, but that's what came in. Bought and paid for, I couldn't take it back.
They don't make that.
They didn't make the wide stuff anymore. So knowing that the ARB didn't like the picket fence, because it was kind of butt ugly, which I thought it was too, but it was a quick solution, I went ahead and put the rest of it up to hide the back, to hide the building, and I was literally had been mad at the ARB at the time because of what I had gone through to get the pool and everything else. I think Ms. Lane could attest to that. She knows my temper. So, not feeling as if I needed permission because I was taking something that really they didn't like and putting something up better, I put the lattice fence up. Then when we went through this last year to get approval for the shed, I argued that the fence was better shaped than the picket fence that had been there. So there's been some misunderstanding, some push on my part, but again, it's in my backyard, away from the boundary lines. I don't feel as if the ARB has control over what really goes on in my backyard, especially if I've improved it and it's not taking away from the aesthetics of the home and everything else. That's my take on the background.
The storage building just inside the gate, that's been approved.
That was approved. That was also put up without ARB, but without coming before ARB.
But
and
it
then
has
it was
been
approved
approved.
after the fact. It is the back, I guess, the backyard, but it's very visible from the street. And you know, unfortunately, your house is in the historic district, or fortunately, whichever way you want to think about it, and
Whether
it's subject to the guidelines.
Whether it's visible from the, it's in the side, it's well within the boundary lines of the yard. It's 20 feet in. It's closer. It's less close in the side of the house. And whether it's visible from the street or not, at some point you have to say, this is my backyard, and you know, it doesn't affect the aesthetics of the home. In fact, it improves it because it hides a lot of the stuff that's in the backyard, and I disagree. I think I haven't had one person come down that street and say that fence in that house is butt ugly because of it. And, you know, I think it's a mountain being made out of a molehill here, and the guidelines address boundary line fences and not that shading or whatever you want to call it within the backyard.
Mr. Hero?
The picket fence was where this is?
Yeah.
I
Yes, it was.
assume so.
Yeah.
That is where this was?
Yes.
This lattice and the lattice that was approved is the same, is that correct?
The lattice that was approved was to be around the pool as a way to protect people and to kind of hide the pool's privacy for the pool. That's where the lattice was supposed to be. That's what was approved for the lattice. And lattice is used as a screen. It is used around pools, it's used around foundations, mechanical systems, satellite dishes, solar collectors, that kind of thing. It was a perfect use for that, around the pool to hide the pool. Lattice is really discouraged or is not even mentioned as a fence, as a, you know, a privacy fence like that.
You use the word discouraged.
Well, I'm discouraging it. It's not discouraged in the guidelines. I'm discouraging it because it doesn't.
It's not one of the models that's.
But we have a piece here. I mean,
That's decoration almost. That's not a fence. This
but
is
it,
a whole.
but you can see how
It's also a
it's
bordering fence.
how it's being landscaped. Marcia's got her vegetables garden there. She's got vines starting to grow on things. In another year or two, it'll be covered, and you're not going to see it, especially from the road. We've got those nice old antique tools hanging on there. How can you say it's not? It's derogatory to the property.
I want to read section 99, page 99. Each property shall be recognized as a physical record of its time, place, and use. Changes that create a false sense of historical development, such as adding conjectural features or architectural elements to another building, shall not be undertaken. I just want that on the record.
But how is that? How is it derogatory to the property? How
Because
does?
it's personal, that's why.
Nothing I have said is personal. I'm sorry. Nothing I have said. I have quoted.
But how
guidelines,
is your
I have talked
opinion?
guidelines.
How is it derogatory to the property, Ms.
Excuse me,
Lane?
excuse me. There are terms for people to speak.
I'm
according to the
sorry, Janice.
guidelines.
Right.
The applicant had the right to speak. You need to present whatever you need to, and after
And
that,
we're now at
we'll have
board
members
discussion.
from the public. You can't have back and forth.
We're not at board discussions.
I would just like to know how that is derogatory to the property.
Any more questions?
What, in my mind, that there's a conflict between section 11 and section 20. In section 20, when they make reference to mechanical systems, they recommend,
Because it's used as a screen for mechanical
they
systems.
recommend lattice
Yeah.
panels. It's highly recommended. Well, a screen is nothing more than a fence around a mechanical system. In fact, quite often when I do details, I'm using a fence as a screen for mechanical detail. And the fact that fences, that lattice is specifically excluded, not specifically excluded, is not mentioned under fences, does not, in my mind, exclude it as a building material for fences. And whether it's appropriate to the house or not,
That's enough.
it is a debate that I'm not sure is debatable, quite frankly.
I would like to ask Ms. Grant, at the June meeting, I'd asked for was it May or June? May, I'd asked for